Okay, good morning everyone. I'm Emma, as was just introduced me. I'm a researcher at Compassion and Wild Farming, and today I'm going to be talking about our Good Farm Animal Welfare Awards, the key to positive engagement with food businesses in China. Okay, so just to very briefly give a little bit of background on Compassion, for those of you who might not be familiar with us. We're a farm animal welfare NGO, and our work really centres around campaigning and lobbying against farming practices that have negative impacts on animal welfare and also the environment. And we also have a corporate engagement programme to improve farm animal welfare and farming practices across supply chains. And this is the work of the food business team that I'm part of, and I'll be talking to you today about some of our methods by which we influence and engage with businesses. So within the food business team, we work by bringing positive engagement with businesses, by being challenging, but also setting achievable goals to really try and create improvement. Everything we do must drive impact for animals, it must drive a market shift towards higher welfare products and a reduced production and consumption of animal-based products, and drive consumer awareness through media and marketing. So we use several different tools to drive engagement and implement change within food systems. So one way is through EggTrack, which is an online tracker of cage-free commitments for egg production, encouraging transparency in the implementation of commitments across the globe. Then we have Chicken Track, which is quite similar, which measures the progress of companies towards meeting their better chicken commitment, and that is on improving the welfare of meat chickens. We have the Business Benchmark on Farm Animal Welfare, or BB4, which has become a leading global programme which measures how well companies are managing and performing on farm animal welfare across their business, and also comparing them to other businesses that are doing similar things. And then we have our Good Farm Animal Welfare Awards, which I'll talk a little bit more about now. So the food business team, we launched our first global award for higher animal welfare in 2007. And since then, the global awards have expanded and they now cover 6 farm species. And we've also got a couple of other awards. And around 883 million animals are set to benefit each year from the commitments and policies arising from the awards. And each award has specific criteria which applicants must commit to meeting within a 5-year timeframe. So here are some examples of companies using the awards. So one of the main benefits to companies, and one of the biggest ways that we get them to engage with the awards, is that they can use the awards to market and communicate how well they are doing with farm animal welfare in the supply chain. So the award logo can become a symbol of recognition for consumers who are looking to purchase higher welfare products. So now I'm going to talk about a bit of our work in China, which began over a decade ago, led by Jeff Zhu, who's here today. So all credit to him and his team out in Beijing. China is one of the is the biggest producer of laying hens and pigs, and the second largest producer of broiler chickens. So it's a huge global player. There is generally low awareness of animal welfare compared to some other regions. This is certainly growing since Jeff's work began there, which has been measured recently by one of our partners, ICAO. There is a reluctance of large producers to transition to higher welfare systems and to invest in higher welfare systems. And this is likely due to cost and lack of demand for high welfare products. And China also has no specific legislation covering farm animals. The majority of livestock farming is carried out in intensive systems in China. For example, 90% of the 3.3 billion laying hens are currently housed in cages. And there are many health and welfare issues associated with intensive systems, and that isn't just specific to China. That's the case for any intensive system anywhere across the world. And some of those issues include disease outbreaks, most notably African swine fever and avian influenza, the use of antibiotics prophylactically, routine mutilations, live transportation over great distances, and inhumane slaughter practices. Some of the other welfare issues include genetics, so mainly talking about fast-growing breeds of broiler chickens and moving away from more traditional breeds, a lack of space and very high stocking densities, animals being housed in very barren environments, injuries and lack of comfort, no access to outdoors, and isolation from others of their species. So all of these issues can result in poor welfare, and that's shown by a number of different welfare outcome measures, such as abnormal behaviours, lameness, lesions, etc. So given that there are those significant issues facing a huge number of farmed animals in China, and in a region that's quite different to some of the others that we work in due to things like cultural differences, politics, consumer perception, etc., we had to consider what was the best way to bring positive engagement and influence stakeholders to bring change for farmed animals. So as part of that, trying to think about positively engaging producers and businesses in China, we looked to launch the global Good Farm Animal Welfare Awards there. However, given the market in China at the time, those challenges that I've just covered, the criteria of the global awards were just not going to really be feasible and weren't really going to achieve what we wanted to at that time. So in 2013, we developed the Good Production Awards, and these awards covering pigs, meat chickens, broilers, and laying hens are targeted at producers rather than the business, like the retailer, food service companies, etc. And they have a star system. So they allow producers to enter the award at a basic level, at the 1-star level, and provide a route to commit to higher welfare production and progress through the award levels up to 5-star. So they kind of create stepping stones to move to higher welfare, and we can support producers in doing that. And the Good Production Awards have been an important tool with which to positively engage larger producers in China and create change for millions of farmed animals, as you can see on the slide. The number of awards that we've given out, and we started with the Good Pig Production Award in 2014, and we've got more awards over the 3 species to hand out this year, which is great. And as I said, all credit for this work goes to Jeff and his team out in Beijing, who have done all of this excellent work. And this has also not been an individual effort. These awards have been possible because of strong partnerships with local organisations who have a good relationship, for example, with the government. For example, the International Cooperation Committee of Farm Animal Welfare, or abbreviated to ICAO, has been instrumental in making this award programme happen. Through these partnerships, Compassion offers technical support to food businesses and producers and attends conferences and events to really build an identity in China. And because of the success of the production awards and our growing identity in China, this has enabled a move to bringing the Good Farm Animal Welfare Awards into the country. So these are the ones that have a bit more stringent criteria, so pushing a move to a more ambitious level of animal welfare now. So we awarded our first Good Chicken Award to Dodu in 2017, and we've awarded 2 Good Egg Awards since 2021, and we've got around 5 more Good Egg Awards to award this year. So this is really showing that having used building blocks, we can now push the engagement in China and make even bigger improvements to farm animal welfare. And a real benefit in China is that the awards can be used for marketing, and one of the main barriers to moving towards higher animal welfare practices is a lack of clear labelling of higher welfare products. So continuing along those lines of pushing improvement, we've just developed a new award called the Sow Stall Free Award, which is primarily for use in China. Just to give a quick bit of background on sows, just because I know not everyone here is necessarily a pig specialist. Productive sows will go through a cycle where they're inseminated, they'll carry their piglets through gestation, they'll give birth or farrow, they will suckle their piglets until weaning, and then they'll be put back into that cycle, into insemination, pregnancy, so forth. And for this production cycle, they can be housed in a number of different ways. They can be kept in individual stalls or crates. So sow stalls are what we refer to when they are pregnant through gestation. And these sows are referred to as dry sows or gilts if they're carrying their first litter. Farrowing crates are used for birth and lactation, or they can be group housed, ideally in a bedded pen, for example, using straw or rice husks, or in outdoor runs on grass or in wooded areas. And it's the stalls and the crates which we're worried about. They're extremely restrictive, barren environments where sows can't express even the most basic behaviours, for example, lying or resting behaviours. So they're one of the biggest issues for sow welfare. Different countries have differing legislation on the time that sows can spend in stalls and crates. So, for example, in the EU, sow stalls are banned after the first 4 weeks of gestation, but farrowing crates are permitted. In the UK, sow stalls are banned actually since 1999, but farrowing crates are permitted. And in many other countries, both sow stalls and farrowing crates are allowed. So in theory, sows can spend their entire lives in this confinement. So sticking with dry sows, we estimate that around 95% of dry sows in China are kept in sow stalls. So really big numbers of animals, and we want to make change in this area. And it's extremely difficult to get producers and businesses to move their sows into group housing due to a number of different things. For example, cost, labour, lack of awareness of the needs of pigs. So our Sow Stall Free Award was developed to really try and overcome this block and just focusing on one aspect of sow production to try and keep it simple. And it's to try and showcase companies that are completely phasing out sow stalls from their supply chain. And the key really has been to keep it simple in this is quite challenging area. So we just have two criteria. One is for companies to commit to having group housing immediately after weaning up until the start of farrowing. We have a time there so that it's a maximum of 4 hours of confinement at any one point, and that's just to permit things like husbandry procedures, veterinary procedures, etc., to be carried out as necessary. And then the second one relates to multi-storey pig farms, which are a worrying trend. So applicants must have a current policy to not source from a multi-storey farm. And through the award, we will be able to support businesses by providing technical support, such as guidelines, recommendations on the practical implementation of how to group house, key considerations for good group housing, case studies showing how other businesses and producers have done it. But as I've said, there are significant challenges on this topic, not specific to China. It's across pretty much all regions. Many producers believe that management of group housing is more difficult than stalls. The spread of African swine fever is really problematic, and producers are reluctant to move to group housing because of mostly unsubstantiated concerns about the route of spread and culling measures in a group housing versus a crated system, the cost to transition when there is no consumer demand, and the growing trend of multi-storey farms which are being subsidised. So we really want to see change on this topic, given all of those challenges. So I'm just going to end with a quick word on multi-storey farms, and it's not just in China. So reports suggest there are around 300 of these farms in China, but we're now starting to see them crop up in other countries. For example, in Hungary, just this year, there is a 2-storey farm has just been opened, and it was actually partly subsidised by the EU, so that's really worrying. And why multi-stories are a concern for us is that they are highly intensive systems. So they come with all of those health and welfare concerns that I talked about a bit earlier, such as the confinement of a high number of animals in small spaces and in barren environments. Disease transmission in these facilities is really concerning because of the ventilation systems used and circulating air through the system. They're typically resource intensive, so they're really high input. They require huge amounts of feed, water, energy, labour, and they're high output systems. For example, wastewater, manure. So the impact on the environment as well as the impact on local livelihoods are significant concerns. And if anyone's interested in reading any more about them, we have a position statement, the link's up here. So on that slightly depressing note, I'm afraid I'm going to conclude. So while there are significant challenges facing improving animal welfare in the Chinese market, there is movement, and there are different approaches with which we can engage stakeholders there. And the Good Production Awards were a really important tool to positively engage producers in China and creating those building blocks to begin influencing stakeholders and starting to create change. And the awards program has created change for millions of farmed animals to date. And this work really couldn't have been this successful without working collaboratively with local organisations with on-the-ground knowledge and expertise. So thanks very much for listening. Very happy to take any questions.
All right, so thank you, Dr. Emma. We will now open the floor for some Q&A session. If there's any question, you can direct them to Dr. Emma now.
So one of the main benefits is, as I talked about, marketing, so they can use the logo. And as our identity begins to grow in China, it can act as a symbol of recognition for consumers who are interested in purchasing higher welfare products. Some other benefits, it kind of depends on the species, but moving to higher welfare systems can come with higher quality products, other things, trying to think, my mind's gone blank, but yeah, higher quality products. In a well-managed system, there are other things that you can mitigate against, such as the environmental impact of farming. We're seeing that in other countries as well. So yeah, there are a number of different things. But yeah, I'd say that's the main thing, kind of marketing, and particularly in China, as animal welfare and this kind of trend to higher welfare systems is becoming it's kind of more global. It's a global trend and transition. So Chinese producers can then start to kind of get on that and be recognised more internationally, which I think is a really positive thing for them. Hi.
These multi-story farms seem to be a real trend in China. What's your sort of thoughts, public perception of these places?
Yeah, I mean, Jeff can probably talk a bit more to this, kind of on the ground. If you want to, I think it's probably better coming from you. Yeah.
In terms of multi-story pig farm, our overall attitude to that is not good in terms of animal welfare and the food system, the general food system, let's say food security, these kinds of issues. Well, we do feel that we need to campaign on a science base. That's the reason why, at least until now, we don't have a really on-the-ground kind of research on the welfare issues happen in the multi-story pig farms compared to the other single-story pig farms. So this is something that we need to work collaboratively with the local researchers or institutions. But the challenge there is because of our ASF challenge. There's no way for us to get inside. Even until now, nobody can get into the farms, these kind of farms, to do the research. But of course, all kind of data and information are shared by these kind of farmers, producers, in a kind of positive way, showing that the latest technology they use in terms of ventilation, the air control, the temperature control. Of course, if we evaluate the system from these kind of aspects, these are kind of better than what kind that were the kind of farm being set up like decades ago. Well, we have to highlight the importance of the potential risks that is happening, can be happening in the farm, in these farms. So we are collaborating very actively. People, the organizations working in China may have the different impression about how hard it is from NGOs to let out these kind of voices. So we are collaborating very actively, very closely with the local researchers, big experts in university students and in the kind of governmental departments with positive engagement. Is the practice happening there, but it's not agreed by all the members. So people have different opinions, especially from researchers. They bear a lot of questions, and also one is facing I wouldn't say a strategic plan or decision made by the authority or in favor by the authority, but it's agreed or allowed by the authority. So it's also difficult for them to challenge this system, but they are capable of letting out their voices in different discussions. One of our key contacts, when I spoke to him about this kind of challenge, and he said that he is invited, he as an expert, invited to join the provincial or national level discussion on the general pig production system, and he told me that he raised a question in terms of the risk control, in terms of the disease spread in this kind of big number of facilities, and the worries, and also based on his understanding about these skyscrapers, because of the vibration due to the kind of wind, these kind of very technical things, which can lead to the leakage of the kind of pathogens among these different layers, instead of the message being delivered by producers saying that they are like concrete and blocking all the kind of transition among these kind of layers. So, and his answer to me is, I don't know the answer. My role is to raise the question, raise my concerns in these high-level kind of discussions, and I wouldn't give them the answer, and the time will tell. And honestly, it's also difficult for us to get the real information out of what's happening behind the bars, and also about the kind of reality if the transition is happening. But at least we got rumors that these kind of producers are facing challenges, and possibly there are rumors on the internet is they have already got kind of spread of this kind of ASF among these kind of farms, and it's well received in the industry by other producers than us. They get better access because they have a lot of direct communication with the staff members, so they know that, as far as I heard of, this trend is kind of slowed down already in practice. It's not favored by the industry, and a lot of questions have risen inside instead of us. But our role is to campaign to let out our concerns and our worries, and also talking about it above the animal welfare concerns itself, but also raise it up to a higher level in terms of our calls, in terms of the intensive farming system, the use of the resources which can contribute to the global warming issues, carbon emission, and also the food security issue, and joining these factors in a holistic form and deliver to the audience. So that's overall understanding. Thank you.
Excuse me, in the wake of COVID, there would be such a robust scientific and biosecurity review of those places. So well done, your professional.
Thank you. Thank you.